Welcome to Brave Conversations. I'm your host, and today's episode, we're asking a very powerful question. Has racism done a comeback, or was it already existing? Today, I'm joined by Peculiar and Amira to share their lived experience and how racism existed in the society, or has it gone? Welcome you both to the show. Can you introduce yourself and explain how this topic is important to you and what made you come here today?
Great question. Ladies first, though.
Oh, thank you so much. I was expecting that. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Amira Wagmar and I am from Daman, India. And I'm from Daman, India. So coming from like a South Asian family, for me, I would say racism kind of begins from the family because I am kind of a person, who was dark and all of my cousins, they were all mostly fair and everything. So my relatives would always talk like, oh yeah, getting married would be hard because how are you going to find a boy and everything. So yeah, for me, it kind of began from where I lived. So that's with me. Do you want to go?
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Peculiar or PK for short. I was born in Niger. Shout out my Nigerians. You know what's up. I think for me, it's one of those things that I've always been aware of. Fortunately, I don't think I can't remember from the top of my head having any supremely negative experiences, but it's one of those things that's always been very subtle and noticeable through discussions, even with employers, conversations with people, and whether that's general public or in school and business, whatever. But it's one of those things where even if it's not in your face, it's somewhere in the back.
That's so true, that even if it's not in your face, it's somewhere in the back.
Yeah.
And so coming from that, I'm going to ask you a question that have you encountered racism where you thought that it is there, but nobody noticed it?
Ooh. Yes. Quite a few occasions, actually. But it's more that I notice it. I tend to notice it more. Well, not that I don't notice it with myself, but I tend to, I guess, pay more attention to it when it's happening to other people. Purely because I know for myself, I don't want to say that I can handle it, because it's not something you're supposed to handle. But it's something that I would shrug off my shoulders a lot more easily than, I guess, maybe most people. But I've seen some situations whereby people are treated differently, purely because of things like the color of your skin, whether that's in interview processes, in the actual workplace. I've seen situations where, like, ordinarily, there's a process that everything is supposed to be followed, and I don't like to be the person that plays the race card, but I also know when other powers are at play. But yeah, I've seen a lot of different things, usually more in others than with myself. And it's upsetting, to be honest. It's really upsetting because I see some people, they work hard, they do the things they're supposed to do, they're honest, not just in work, outside of work as well. But they get treated differently purely off the basis of you're different to what I look like, so I will treat you differently.
What do you mean when you said that other powers are in play?
Okay, it's a great question. So it's like, it goes back to what I said earlier. So a lot of what people might experience might not be, hey, you slurred this, and that. But sometimes it can show its face through what we call bias. Yeah. So if you're supposed to do a particular process a particular way, maybe if you have two applicants from different sort of backgrounds, especially if you maybe relate to a particular background, you might choose them over the other person, even if the other person fits the role better. Do you know what I'm saying? And those are things that I can't necessarily sit here and be like, hey, you did that, because that might actually not necessarily be the case. Because what I try to avoid is falling in the trap of blaming everything on racism. I have a mentor of mine. There was one event that we went for, and one very powerful part of his story was about I think he said the phrase was become undeniable, which is regardless of race, regardless of all these other things, be so good that they can't say no to you. You know what I'm saying? So I typically don't like to be like, oh, it was because of race, but at the end of the day, I know for some people, and I've seen in experiences as well, that it can be something like maybe it's people at higher positions in the business or whatever, or people that maybe have more of control or say over a particular situation. They make the decisions and we just deal with it.
Makes sense, yeah. Did you ever encounter any such incident?
For me, I used to work in retail before here. It was just like a part-time job, yeah. So of course, like, most of the students kind of tend to work in retail. What I find out is because, like, everyone wants like that 20-hour or like, part-time jobs to pay bills or like, just daily necessities. So yeah, I was there as well. So what I found out is like, for the first like kind of 2-3 months, I really struggled to get in. Why? Because of course everyone was just like different, like white and everyone. So they were just like, they kind of were there before me. So they would just be engaging with each other, like, oh yeah, we're gonna go out and everything. Nobody would really ask me if I ever wanted to join. They would just assume I wouldn't. But I was like, oh yeah, but I also didn't want to, like, well, can I just get in? Like, because it wasn't like I didn't really like doing that. And also, with customers as well, some of the days it's like, you still on the like till serving customers and there's like other people there. So you waiting for them to come to you, but they're like, well, I'm going to go to them. Like, why? What did I do to you? Yeah, that's kind of like where I was working before. And one of the ones was really, it was so bad. It was like, I think it was in one of the supermarkets. So one of the lady was serving, like, she did all of the billing and everything and she was going to pay. Mind you, she was going to pay with Apple Pay. Not even like put the card in the holder and then put a pin in that, I would see and steal her card or anything. And then all of a sudden, I was literally behind. I couldn't even see. But then, she pulled her phone out. So of course she's going to pay with that. And then all of a sudden she looks at me and then she puts her phone into the pocket and then she goes to the cashier and she's like, can you please ask her to move? And I was like,
What?
why? And even the cashier, she was like, she looked at me and then she never told me anything because I could feel like, how she felt. So I was like, never mind, I'm just going to move back. So I moved back. She pulled her phone out again. She paid, made a face at me, and then she left. And I was like, what did just happen? But it was like, what am I even going to say? So yeah, that's like, that person did feel me because she was a black woman. She saw me. She was a cashier, so she saw me. And then she literally looked at me. And then I was like, oh yeah, never mind. I understand. You don't have to tell me anything. I just moved back. She paid. She made a face. She left. And then we both had a little chat. So yeah, it's like on a daily basis, you kind of like, sometimes you do feel, but sometimes it's like, even you think like, it's not even worth speaking about it sometimes. Like, just leave it. You kind of, you just want to keep your mouth shut because what are you even going to say to that person?
I think, sorry, if I can say something about that. I think that's one of the most interesting things that still surprises me is how some people still have a lot of like different, I guess it's stereotypes, and they've had a lot of ideas put into their head. And it shows, it really shows through how they behave and interact with other people, especially people of color, or either or. But like, say for example, a situation like that, I don't know, maybe she's had a bad experience like that before. I don't know, I can't tell, I wasn't there. And we don't know who the lady is, so we can't go and ask her. But regardless of that, there are so many interactions I've been in personally. People interact with you differently as well.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in places where I was the only black co-worker there, and like, It's the funniest, it's the funniest thing because when you first start, it's like, it's so awkward because people don't, you can tell that they don't mix too much, maybe diversity wise. So they don't even know how to interact with you. Or actually, the problem is that they think they should interact with you differently because you're a different color or whatever. You know, I've had some people that go, yo, 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 and I'm like, broski, you don't talk like that. Your name is Steven in accounting, you don't talk like that. You know what I'm saying? I've had all sorts of like situations that, looking back on them, they're actually quite funny, but it comes from the fact that people already have, I guess you could say, ideas and beliefs and all these kind of things that have come from wherever. But it literally impacts the interactions between people as well. Like, I shouldn't have to go to work to a place and because I'm me and because I look how I do, behave differently or do things differently to cater to you. It's just a respect thing at the end of the day. It's really just a respect thing at the end of the day. Like, even in that situation, I don't know what's happened maybe to that lady, but you came here to get your shopping, whether it's a mirror at the back or someone else at the back, do your thing and go.
Yeah. In that situation, I also thought like maybe because, you know, she didn't want me to see any of the passwords or anything. But, you know, that comes, you know, maybe I took it that way, that, you know, it was because she was racist. But maybe it was also because she might have done this with anyone who was behind.
True.
But, you know, because like, you know, I've kind of faced these situations here and there. So the first thing that would come in my mind was that, like, okay, she was racist. And that's the only reason she made that face at me. Okay, never mind, go.
It's a really horrible experience to face in such situations as well, to have such situations in life. And I do believe that even though times have changed, but those mindsets and those stereotypes haven't changed. They already exist in people's minds that make them think that this could happen or whatever it is. And I also agree with the fact that you mentioned about unconscious bias as well, because sometimes people are racist. They pass on some comment that is about your race, but they even don't realize that they did something like that, and it happens unintentionally sometimes. So coming to the question that you were mentioning about that sometimes you doubt your own self. So has there any been a moment where you thought that this is not, I don't think it is racism, or is it me overthinking it?
Yeah. You know, I actually, to be fair, for quite a few days actually, because like through my journey of kind of trying to develop myself, I've had to challenge the way that I think about a lot of different things actually. And part of developing the way you think, especially when it comes to developing yourself as an individual, is learning about a concept called internal and external locuses of control. So basically what's inside your control and what's not in your control. And you know, as people, it can be very easy to blame someone else or blame something else for situations that would have basically essentially been the same regardless of who was in that position. So it's quite interesting that sometimes I have to be mindful not to, and I think learning to develop that approach to things is actually really helped me to also not take things personally as well. Though I understand that some people are genuinely doing that with the intention to, I also just get to the point where I don't take it too personally anymore, because I know they could just be having a bad day. And, you know, they've just let words slip out that maybe actually in hindsight, they probably don't really mean. I swear, I've had some situations, somebody said something, and, you know, when I wasn't as, I guess, say, emotionally regulated, I picked that up and I challenged them back on it, because I don't tolerate stuff that I don't need to put up with. So I challenged that back. The reaction I get from them is actually that was not the intention at all. They weren't being racist. That's not how they were trying to come across. But because I picked up and challenged it like in such a way, I used to look back and I'd be like, probably wasn't the best way to handle it. And actually, I'm potentially also feeding whatever stereotypes they do have already, which is something that we've got to be careful about when challenging things like racism. You know, sometimes there's some stereotypes out there, you know, black people are loud, rare, this and that. And sometimes in challenging those things, we prove to them that we are those things. I think it's very important to be careful in our approach to dealing with these sort of things, but also just opening our mind up a bit more as well is also incredibly important, because a lot of things aren't racism. A lot of things are just excellence and things like that.
But then, you know, the incident that I shared with the supermarket one, that's what stuck with me. And then even when I went home, I talked to my brothers about it. Like, you know, this is what happened and everything. So I was kind of confused, like what really happened there. But then it was also like my brother kind of explained to me. He was like, maybe you were overthinking it. And maybe if, like, you know, like when we go near ATMs and everything, you know, when we were putting our pins in. So everyone, but I explained to her, I was like, no, she pulled her phone out and she was paying with Apple Pay. Like, there's no way I can look anything into her phone. And that was like a proper distance I maintained. So no, she was being racist. And he was like, never mind, you can just ignore. So that's what you said is really correct, that, you know, sometimes in those kind of situations where people are actually treating you fairly, how you, like, you know, how it's meant to be and everything, maybe you are not, like, you know, you're not meeting their expectations or something, like you said about interviews and stuff. So maybe I am really not, like, you know, fitting into that role or something. But then it's just like, you know, because you have that in your mind from the beginning, you just always gonna think about it. Don't get me wrong, every single day, every now and then, here and there, like, you know, something happened, it kind of triggers me. It kind of, I think, oh yeah, this person is doing this with me because of my color. But it's still there in me, like a tiniest bit. But over the years, it's like my dad has really helped me, like, you know, kind of come out of it. Because every now and then, even, like, you know, it's so common in, like, you know, in our families and everyone to just, you know, just speak about it. Like one time somebody actually gifted me foundation that was not even my color. It was like 10 shades lighter. I was like,
oh my,
why the hell would you get, like, do you, like, no, that's so stupid. But, you know, he was always there for me. He would always say, oh yeah, like, you know, you don't have to look at a person's color to know how they are, because I really have a good heart. So, you know, he would always say, like, look at her heart, like her heart is really fair and like really nice, so why would you look at the color? So it's like always my dad. And then anyone would say, like, oh yeah, like, you know, so he would always be like, yeah, because she is my daughter, so, you know, my dad is a darker color as well. So, you know, he's always like, oh no, because she's my daughter, so of course she's gonna look like me and everything. So he's helped me with most of the things. And then, you know, sometimes I wouldn't speak for myself. I'm like, no, I don't even want to, because, you know, it emotionally hurts me. I'm like, sometimes I do question, like, why am I made like this? Like, why? You know, sometimes you do. But he's there to, like, no, well, I am going to speak up for you if you do not want to. So, of course, I get all of that confidence and then everything from him. Like, every single time I have, like, a breakdown for those kind of things. But like I said, it kind of began from the household where, like, you know, your relatives just tell you. So
do you think if your dad didn't have the approach that he did, do you think you would have been very different as an individual now?
kind of, because I am a very, like, you know, emotional kind of a person. I'm very emotional. I literally kind of like start crying for every single bit. Yeah, I'm that kind of a person. But, you know, him having my back every single time, like, regardless of things, like, he might know that I am gonna, like, maybe this is gonna hurt me later, or, like, you know, this is not the right thing to do. He will ask me not to do it, but then later he's still like, you know, no, it's fine. It's always like, you know, taking risks. Because if you do not take the risk, you're not even kind of like, you know, actually trying to do something. So yeah, so every step of my life, I'm going to say, like, I'm really grateful for my dad, like, everything.
I think self-doubt definitely comes, but every step helps to shape who you are today and your beliefs that you hold today. But in this country, sometimes this kind of environment makes us feel that we have to work more harder in order to prove ourselves. Did you ever feel that way, or do you have a different beliefs on this?
Did I ever feel that way? Yeah, 100%. Especially in school. Especially in school, actually. By the grace of God, I'm very privileged to have done a lot of good things during my run in school. One of the things, and that this is something that I've actually been reflecting on a lot recently. I feel like not just race, but also culture plays a massive role in how we think as coloured individuals. Because say, for example, I was consciously or non-consciously raised in a way where I was always pushing to achieve something. I was always pushing to prove. So, you know, I went for those awards. I went for trying, you know, put myself in the best positions as possible, because at the end of the day, you know, I was proving to myself and proving to my parents that, yeah, cool, that guy. But at the end of the day, I was watching other people around me, because I'm obviously I pay attention to these sort of things. And it almost felt sometimes as if I was watching people play the game on easy mode. You know, they wouldn't have to go through as many processes as I did, or maybe they found it easier to achieve whatever they were trying to achieve than I would if I was doing the same thing. Which to this day, I don't know if I can definitely say that was a race thing, or whether that was just my skill issue at the time. I don't know. But growing up, it definitely made me an overachiever, actually, because I felt like, okay, cool. I kind of grew up with a narrative that, you know, because of my skin color, I am disadvantaged. Whether that's objectively true or not, and it is what it is. But in a way, it was good for me, because it pushed me to push for the top that you can get. So I was pushing it in grades, I was pushing it in sports, I was pushing it in like academic thing, anything that you could do, I was pushing myself for it, purely because I was watching my peers and I was like, okay, if they can have it so easy, I'm gonna prove to them and everyone else that I can be there as well. You know, regardless of what, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna put myself there. So yeah, I mean, I think it was mostly during school that I felt like I had to push myself a bit more. In work, I don't know, not so much. I think I got to a point in my working life where kind of everything I've done spoke for me already. So I guess I'm kind of glad I pushed myself that much during my school years. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I felt like that before. And it's a very interesting place to be, because it could either hurt or harm you. It can either like push you forward or it can harm you as well.
I think there's both goods and bads to it.
Yeah.
That in a good way, you achieve a lot and you can push yourself out from your limits. But at the same time, it sometimes make you doubt yourself, your self-worth, and you self-criticize a lot that some people achieve it so easy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of who I am, that I'm from underrepresented community, that makes it harder for me to achieve the same things.
That's a very dark place to be, I'm not gonna lie.
With me, it's like not really too much in school, because I've always been that, like, you know, outspoken person. Like, nobody mess around with me. Sometimes, like, you need to speak up for yourself. You need to let them know who you are, like, yeah. So it was like that. But then sometimes I do feel like, you know, now that, you know, I was in a different country, everything is just so different. So when I came here, and then, you know, when I was in university in first year and everything, so it was like, you know, I really thought like everyone who was around me, they all were like same age. They all had like kind of equal passions. Like everyone wanted to do this or that. But I always felt like this person has so much more knowledge than I have, or they just know too much than I know. Why is that so? And most of them were like, you know, of course, white and everything. So I was like, why is that so?
Yeah.
And then it was also like, you know, they've been to so many places in the world, and then they've gained so many experience and everything. And then they were really good at, like, you know, like when the lectures are going on, they would multitask, like, listen to the lecturer, look at the slides and make notes of their own. I was struggling. I was like, do I listen to her? Do I look at the slides or do I make some notes? I would leave pages to do those notes. But when I go home, I am just blank. Like, what did the lecturer actually tell me? So it made me question myself, like, why did I do that? But then end of the day, what I've realized is every person has a different ability. It doesn't, like, it's
Right.
not like your age or anything. Like, that's what it is. Like, even if I'm older, my younger brothers are like maybe more intelligent than me in most of the aspects. It's fine. It's their ability, because in some of the aspects, I am really good and they are not. So it just depends on that. And there, I think what I've tried doing is to not push myself on those areas where, like, people tell me, oh yeah, you're low on this, or I feel like sometimes I would just leave it to where it is. Like, I do not try and do multitask even now, because I know I can't do it and I do not want to push like, those boundaries sometimes. Instead, what I'm really passionate about, what I really love something, I would be like, oh yeah, that's fine, I'm gonna do that stuff. So that kind of, for me, it is. And also, like, about you, like, it's like, why are you doing this, or what are you gonna get? End of the day, you kind of gonna get married and then, just live like an ordinary life and stuff. But it's like, it doesn't really matter, because there's people in my life, like, around me, who've achieved the other side of life that I haven't yet. But I've achieved a lot that they kind of never even wanted to fight for it. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't.
That's so true.
They never. Like,
Yeah.
I was that person. I was like, no, I want to go uni. I want to study, even if it takes me to, like, change countries. So, but they never even, like, like, kind of, spoke about it in open, like, I want to study. So that's kind of it. Like, sometimes I do get emotional breakdowns, like, why me? But then end of the day, it's like, well, I've achieved more than what they have. Okay, we are on different sides of, like, life.
Yeah.
But then maybe that is coming for me later. But then what I have achieved, they might never be able to, because they chose the other side of the life. So that's kind of what it is for me.
Do you think that racism has done a comeback, or was it already existing somewhere and maybe everywhere around us? And also, to wrap it all off, an advice for our listeners today who ever experienced racism, or who think that they're just overthinking or is racism unconsciously?
I think for myself, I don't think it ever went away. Because as long as people still have those beliefs, and whether they choose to act on them or not, because people might have those beliefs but choose not to act on them.
Yeah.
So I think it's like I said, if it's not in your face, it's in the back. It's in someone's head, it's in someone's intentions, it's somewhere. So I don't think it ever really went away. It's just one of those things, how much of it do you experience? The intensity of it, how much of that do you experience? And in terms of, I guess, something for viewers, number one, play your own game. Play your own game. Racism or not, that's been one of the biggest things that's made life a lot more peaceful for myself, better for my mental, purely because I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing.
Don't use racism as an excuse, basically.
Same.
Yeah.
And kind of as a follow-on from that, like my mentor said to me, be undeniable. Whatever the situation is, be so good that they can't, like, they don't have an option but to choose you.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, if you're good enough at what you do, the rules don't matter. One very big important, like, one of the, I guess, cases of that, like, I don't know if you guys are into football too much. Other mentors used to bring up a lot is Lamine Yamal. He's sensational player, super young player as well. Like, he was, I think during like the World Cup, he was doing his studies and exams at the same time as playing. I'm like, well, how? And if you think about a situation like that, under the rules, he wouldn't be able to do such a thing like that. But because he was good enough, they bend the rules for him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason I carry that so close to me is because I believe that there are a lot of things possible if only you believe you can do them.
Yeah.
Because if you've already kind of said to yourself, you can't do it because I'm black or because I'm this or because I'm that, you've already eliminated yourself from the game.
Yeah.
And it's like Amira was saying, you'll never know if you could have even got there if you didn't even try.
Yeah.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those two things, play your own game, be undeniable. Yeah, you'll be all right.
What I would like to say is, of course, it was never away. It was always there. But then, you know how you said, like, it's just, you know, if people choose to show it or no sometimes, but then, yeah, that kind of a thing. But also, like, you know, be so good to them. Like, you know, just spread kindness and be so good to them that, you know, even if they want to, they can't just resist.
Trust me.
Because, well, end of the day, all that matters is, like, you know, what legacy or what you kind of gonna leave behind, what impact you're gonna have on people, be it like a small number of people or like a, you know, majority of the people. That's what it matters. So yeah, that's all I would like to say. Be so good, like, you know, they just can't ignore you.
Yeah, man. And
Yeah.
actually, to add to that as well, one thing that I really liked that she said was that bit about impact and legacy. Because regardless of where you come from or whatever, people will always remember how you treated them.
Yeah.
And actually, you never know what good you might be doing. Like, say, for example, if someone comes across me now and they have a very positive experience with me, it's actually going to do a massive favor for the next person like me they come across further down the line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they've met me and they're like, okay, maybe maybe these people aren't so bad. And, you know, for me, that's like, I'm helping my brothers and sisters out by doing that, by being a positive experience. Because the thing is, some of these things, even they are based on, you know, biases and all this information that's been, a lot of people have also probably had some sort of negative experience with people of color or, you know, from whatever background. So you don't do yourself or your people any more favors by creating another negative experience for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
If you
saying?
want to do good,
Don't do it. Don't get involved. You know what I'm saying? Because you're making it worse for the next person.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and I thank God for my parents so much because they raised me to think like that, have a positive impact on absolutely everyone because you never know what might happen.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your input here. Racism doesn't always announce itself. It still exists. It's there in those stereotypes. It's there in those policies somewhere. This has been Brave Conversations, and the road forward begins with honesty. Thank you.